Yo, we're back,
What's going
and
on?
we have a couple of special guests with us.
What's up, everybody?
Hi, Deja.
Hey, what's up,
Hey, Deja.
guys?
Hey,
What up?
What's up?
yeah, can't
Yo,
hear.
let me.
Can you hear?
This,
Can you guys hear?
I can
can
hear her.
y'all
Yeah,
can hear me?
I can hear.
Okay.
Why can I not?
You can't hear
So,
me?
so we're going to talk about everything that's been going on. Deja did want to pop in here and say a couple of things, in case people are wondering what our live is about. It is in the description box. I don't think we have to explain any further, so I'm gonna let Deja say what she has to say.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. And second, all I want to say is I don't like how everyone's reacting to the lootings, especially when these lootings are being planned to make the media focus more on that than what the protests are actually about. And then, especially now with what Don C has said about these kids, I understand that people are upset about the lootings, but for him to threaten to shoot these kids and basically say they're underdeveloped for looting his store, that's not a message you want to express to your customers because most of your customers
Right,
are minorities.
right.
And these are the same customers that brought up who you are in the streetwear industry, who you are in the fashion industry. Like, why do you have to promote that type of stereotype when already the media, society in general says that about us?
Right.
Right. What Shell said, his stuff is overpriced, like $50 for shipping for your shoes, dog. Like you lucky they just doing anything now. But I mean, that's definitely the wrong message to send. Like I was watching the video of Nicky Diamonds, and guess what? He went to his store with a couple of his friends. He was in there holding his store down, and people who are loyal to the shop, they came and stood in front of his store. And at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the night, he let them in, and they chopped it up. So if you care about your store, I mean, go down to your store and try to protect your store, talk to the people, be with the people. But making these
Yeah.
statements ain't gonna get it.
And I was
You
talking to Dani earlier because she saw what I posted on my Instagram stories where I said instead of posting all these things saying this ain't it with the lootings and stuff, start posting GoFundMe links for these businesses that have been affected. Like it's
right,
mostly black and brown businesses being affected by these lootings. Start sharing links. Start making donations. Stop focusing on the negative. It's bad enough the
right,
media is already focusing on the negative. Try to help
right,
these people out.
right. Exactly.
You
Absolutely.
know, like
We
nobody
need
should
to
have to tell y'all that. We have to uplift each other.
we need to try to change the narrative because we already got the media beating our heads down with all the major mainstream media networks that are
Right.
stuffing this stuff down our throat through the TV, through the Twitter links, because they all have Twitter, they all have their social
Mhm.
media pages, and they're just shoving it, ramming it down our throats. And we're
Mhm.
seeing it. We can't not see it. Any device that we turn on, anywhere we go, we're gonna see it. So we got to try to change that narrative. We got to start fighting back with information
Right.
that's against the rhetoric that they're spewing.
Yeah, and then a lot of people don't know, but I write for a major media company, so I already see both sides of the coin. But I try
Right,
to post things that don't feed into that narrative. If y'all follow Hollywood Unlocked, we don't show that narrative. We try to
right,
post both sides and
right,
factual sides. And a lot of people don't know that a lot of these white kids are the ones destroying the businesses, throwing rocks, planting bricks in front of these businesses, dressing in all black, making it seem like it's the ones that are protesting for George Floyd and making it seem like these protesters are destroying businesses when it's not even the case.
right.
And
I
nobody.
seen some of the I saw
No,
some of
go ahead.
the Twitter links that were flying with people that were down there in the trenches that were in like the front lines. They were in there with the people standing out there, protesting. And they all seemed pretty organized.
Mm-hmm.
The volume was elevated because people are angry, but they were still like organized. And then
Right.
you see like these busts of people coming in. Like, first of all, where did they come from? Who are they?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all dressed in black, and then they get out like SWAT and swarm the area. They're elbowing car windows out. They're throwing bricks through stores, and then we're being blamed for it. And then
Mm-hmm.
you see that, like, there was one clip where it was a black woman that was yelling at the people who were busting the windows of the store out, and they weren't people that look like us. And she was like, stop doing that. They were spraying Black
Exactly.
Lives Matters on the building. She was like, stop doing that because we're going to get blamed. So this is
Exactly.
why us in the community, like when I say us, like all of us that know one another, we're all linked through social media chains, Facebook, Instagram mostly, some of us on Twitter as well. We gotta dig deep. We gotta find that
Mm-hmm.
information that's not being put out there on the mainstream media and share it and keep sharing
Mm-hmm.
it so that it
Mm-hmm.
can get in front of all these eyes to say, hey, you know what? Maybe if we can change some of the people's mind. Wait, hold up. This is what we're seeing on some of the mainstream media networks, but why is this stuff not being posted? And then it's going to make them go and they're going to start digging, and then they'll
Right.
maybe then share it to another person, and that person will share it to another person, and then we start to infect and change that narrative. Like, listen, hold up, we need to think about this and figure out where we need to go from here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yep.
I can't believe with all the resources available to us that people are still just taking what the media say as all the truth. Like or just being lazy and not investigating for themselves. Like obviously they're showing us what they want us to see. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's clear, but nobody's taking the time to go do the research. They're just seeing what they're putting in front of us and then complaining about it, behind their keyboards or whatever, but not doing anything to change.
Yeah, like that story. I don't know if y'all heard about this man in Dallas who got jumped last night. Like he was
Hmm.
severely beaten. And they try to say that these kids killed him. What they're not telling you is that he actually chased one of those kids with a sword, thinking
Wow.
that he was gonna rob somebody. And that's why
Wow.
they jumped him.
And all that stuff gets cut out. They
Yeah.
strip the pictures, they
Mm-hmm.
strip the video clippings, they strip the postings down to
Mm-hmm.
make it fit their narrative, to make us seem like monsters or thugs, quote unquote.
Yeah, and even with the white guy with the bow and arrow, he made it seem like two black guys jumped him. But if you see all these
I
Instagram
saw that.
live clips, he
Mhm.
he came at them with the bow and arrow, thinking he's Hawkeye. I don't know who told him that, and and he's pointing it at them, and they wasn't with it, and they jumped on him. But they
I, I yep,
he
I
went on
did
the
see that link.
news. He went on the news saying, "Oh, two black guys jumped me. That's why I wanted to say something about this." Like, no, tell the truth. It's all on
Right.
social media.
Yep.
Right.
And
I mean,
and,
You
and we
know?
need to start digging that up and just keep sharing
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
this is like the main reason I'm like against or I hate, that the rioting and stuff is going on, because you already know that the people are gonna use this as a mask to do other things. And all the good things or the reasons that people are fighting are gonna get negated, and it's just gonna look like, oh, people just want free shit. Like, yeah, there are
Mm-hmm.
some people out here who are doing that, but also you have to forget there are people out here starving. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that people are just taking free shit because they want to look fly sitting in the house during quarantine. Like, they're starving. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You do forget that people didn't get $500 per child. Like, a lot of people didn't get that money, and they're not giving it to them like, oh, we'll give it to you next month. They're like, oh, next tax time. So people
Mm-hmm.
are hurting out here, and this is just something that sparked it off. Like, we've been caged. People are mad. People are angry, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what you thought was gonna happen.
And
Right.
that right there, if you have a animal, a cat, a dog, or whatever, a gorilla, a lion, you keep him caged for years, and you just keep oppressing him, and you keep poking, and you keep poking, and you keep poking. Once that animal is out of that cage, is all mayhem. It's all or nothing. They're going to attack, and that's what's been building up. It's just event after event after event,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're peacefully protesting, and then they say something when we peacefully protest. So then when we speak their language, then we're called thugs and animals, and it's like, where do we go from here? Like, make
Right.
it make sense.
Yep.
This is what I don't get.
Mm-hmm. Like, and I bet a lot of people didn't see that video where on live television, the Atlanta police tased the young couple in their
I saw
car
that.
and dragged them out because they violated curfew. Now there are ways to tell people, hey, go home. This is past your, past curfew. We need everyone to clear the area. You don't tase a couple and then drag them out and then you handcuff them from the back trying to make a point. And especially on live television. But people don't talk about that. People don't want to show that. They want to talk about all the looting, all the stealing, all of it. No, you need to focus on what the end game is. Focus on what the main goal is. Like, people are trying to get rights, and people are still getting their rights violated, even though they're protesting against the man who got killed in a cell phone video. Like, come on.
Yep, I did see that, and I saw that posted on Twitter, and there was somebody who commented that said she was in the car with them. They had just came from dinner. She had just left them like not too long ago when that happened. And I saw the video where the cops are literally leaned over inside the car over both of them and was just tasing them repeatedly and then drug them out of the car and put them on the ground face down and then wrap their arms up with the handcuffs. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I don't understand. If I'm out past curfew, they're like, hey, you know what? You guys, you got to move it along. Hurry up and get home because curfew has hit. All of that tasing for why? It was completely unnecessary.
What I understand all right, so when they implement these curfews and things, like, are these laws, are these even things you can go to jail for, or is it just, obviously this is what we want you to do? Like, I could see ticket citations, but that even seems crazy because if it's not a law, how are you going to give me a ticket for it? But you ask, like, how do you justify, like, as that cop, like, how do you feel comfortable that you tased a couple because they were out past their curfew? Like, that's overly aggressive, and I don't understand how this stuff is being recorded and nobody has a problem with it. Like, people will look at it and just like, well, they shouldn't have been out past curfew. Like, it doesn't matter. They were out past curfew. That warrants them being tased or touched by anybody. Like, you're crazy. You're part of the problem if you think that.
Yeah,
you know what it is? Oh, go ahead, Hella.
Go ahead.
When me and Word talked about this, or when we talk about bringing any serious issue or things happening in the world, when we talk about bringing it to our channel, we want to come with as much knowledge as we can find. But honestly, me being the research nerd that I am, a lot of it is the media is controlling the narrative.
Yep.
So myself, I have to dig a little further to make sure that I know what I'm talking about, because I'm coming from I stand with you viewpoint, is that it hasn't physically happened close to home, and I can admit that. I can admit that my knowledge on Black Lives Matter is not that much, but also just doing your research and knowing. But like we were talking about this last night on live, and it's not that people are trying to be violent, but people are hurt and people are hurting. And we've also been in quarantine for almost 3 months. So people's mental states aren't always there, but unless we're on the front lines of these riots, of all the chaos, we don't know what people's reasons are for doing this. But when almost every single article that I read said that this is because of the George Floyd death. And I don't necessarily think that is the full narrative. That's a very tiny, tiny part of this, because this has been going on for probably your whole lives that you guys have lived here on Earth. You've had to deal with it in one way or another, whether it was your ancestors or you or your family that had to deal with this. So it's really hard for me to find information that I felt that was correct or that came from a point of view that would actually matter. So the fact that most of the articles I read were focusing on just a teeny tiny portion of what the deal actually is, it was really disheartening to me.
That's because they don't want you to be able to find that information, and unfortunately, it does take some legwork for you to keep digging to get to the meat and potatoes to find out what exactly is going on. And George Floyd is a part of it, but it's a buildup of everything. It's centuries of just constant just just beating us down. And it's like, when does it end? Like, when do
Mhm.
you think that enough is enough? Like, do you not think that we are tired? Like, we are tired. And what's going on right now out there in the world, it shows we are tired. But people, so many people are keep talking about the looting this, the looting that, but you're basically just focusing on the looting, and you're taken away from the actual matter at hand, and why they're looting. Figure out why, learn
Mm-hmm.
why, and then maybe we can fix it.
Hey, Skip, welcome in.
Hey,
Skip,
Skip looking ass.
What's
what
up,
up,
man?
Skip?
Hey, what's up, y'all? Shit.
What's up?
Skip, do you have anything you'd like to share?
I just I mean, were we all? I mean, I know what you all were talking about, but like, what I guess part of what were you all talking about? I mean, I just hopped in. So what's up?
Um,
Oh yeah.
so we're just talking about the whole thing that's going on out there in the world with the looting and the stuff with George Floyd, and how people are basically deflecting and taken away from the matter at hand. A man's life has been lost. Like, you're worried about shoes and clothes and materialistic things that can be replaced. Like, it's unfortunate, yes, but it happened, and it can be repaired. However,
Yeah.
that man's family will never be the same, because he's not coming back. He's somebody's uncle, somebody's father, somebody's grandson, somebody's just relative, period. Their life has forever changed. A missing part of their family chain link is gone.
Yep.
And I just want people to focus on that. How do we stop this from happening? Because it continues to happen. And if it continues to happen, it's only going to get worse. Like, we got to fix it. And it's not going to be overnight. It's going to take years, because
Mm-hmm.
look how many years we are from the last, civil rights movements or uproars that have gone on, and we're still facing this today.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Skip's Wi-Fi skipped out.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, we had the dial up.
Yeah. But, yeah.
But yeah,
It's crazy to me. I was gonna say, it's crazy to me that though, like now this whole narrative is being switched over about stores being destroyed and this, that, and the third. And it's like, yeah, that's like material things you can get back. People have insurance, you can rebuy things or whatever. But someone and multiple people have lost lives. No amount of money is gonna bring back someone's loved one. Like
Mhm.
so, like why are we so concerned about these businesses? Like it's crazy to me that people will be more outraged that a store got looted or a business, is destroyed, as opposed to lives and families that have been destroyed.
But because that tells you right there that capitalism basically pushes the narrative that there's any and everything out there that holds more weight than a black man's life. Like Michael Vick, how long did he go to jail for a dog? But we got officers murdering unarmed black people, period, black and brown people, period, and they get slapped with a fine. Like, basically, you get desk duty, and your pension remains intact, and you're still getting paid by sitting behind that desk. Meanwhile, I have to figure out how I'm gonna put my family back together, how I'm gonna
Mhm.
replace that income that is no longer a part of my family because you killed that link in my family. Like
Mhm.
we gotta, like, it's just crazy. Like, we gotta fix it. Like, why are we the bottom of the shoe? Like, we're treated like garbage
Yeah,
when
I
materialistic things are more valuable than we are.
exactly. So when we were discussing this earlier, Word asked for me to compile a list of the stores within the sneaker community that have been looted. But there was one store specifically that I seen them tweet. Um, it was the hundreds, and I don't know if it was in San Francisco or if it was the one in Southern California. But
Mm-hmm.
the owner of the hundreds said, I have no anger towards, people who looted my business. My business is a material thing. What I want you guys to know is that what you're doing is not going to replace his life, and it's actually probably not even going to bring quote unquote justice. It might to some people, but this is specifically what he said. But he also said that he stands with them. Black Lives Matter, and he's not worried about the fact that his business got looted. What he's worried about is the state of the world right now and the bigger issues, rather than material things that got stolen out of his store. And for a business owner to say that, I think that's huge, that he's saying, hey, I don't care. I'd rather you guys loot my business than have another person lose their life senselessly. And a lot of the people who did own businesses that were looted, they're kind of on the other side of that. Like, they're kind of like, well, why did you do this to my business? This is my whole life. Well, somebody lost his life, and there is no way we can replace it, regardless of what we say and do. So, I mean, seeing that was kind of surprising to me, especially like everybody's saying, you have insurance that could replace whatever it is you lost, but at the same time you're thinking more so about yourself than the bigger picture.
I think with the yes, all of the it's unfortunate that the stores are being looted. Yes, people are angry. Um, I understand it. Um, when it comes to the businesses and the insurance, yes, they do have insurance. They can pay for those materialistic things that can be replaced. Like when I was talking to Deja earlier, like the big major corporations, Target, Walmart, whoever, Foot Locker, those stores, they have the means to replace all of that stuff, which is why Deja took it upon herself to get these lists to these links to these GoFundMe's that she shared in her stories and I shared in my stories, to those smaller businesses that are hit hard by this, that maybe their insurance isn't going to cover all this, or maybe they didn't have insurance because they were a struggling business. This is why we're sharing this link, to help those people out. Yes, it's unfortunate, but guess what? We are willing to help you get through this time. Yes, there are people that are they're unemployed because this business went down, but those people were probably unemployed already due to the COVID, which put a lot of these business in the toilets and damn near bankrupt anyway. But we are willing to help. We're sharing the GoFundMe's. I'll look at some of the money that has been raised so far, and people are going ham. People are who are probably sitting home and don't even have the money, are finding a way to scrape that $20, to scrape that $10, to scrape that $5, to put it in that GoFundMe to help in some way.
So
Why don't
E1
our
says, this has been my issue and question at the same
Mhm.
time. Why don't our people have the
These
same
are the ways
energy
that
on
people comply with it.
black crime, which is more frequent?
Because we
Okay.
are aware that this happens every day in our own communities. Like, I live in the Bronx, and on my Citizens app, I get a notification about gunshots every day. So yeah, there are people passionate about black on black crime, but if you live in a in a dense community with your same people, it's going to happen. But nobody talks about white on white crime, which is actually the highest crime rate in the country. Nobody talks about Latino on Latino crime or Asian on Asian crime. But everyone wants to mainly focus on black and black crime, but people are aware of it. But I don't know why that always has to be the topic of discussion, where we're talking about a man who lost his life under the hands of a police officer, which is too frequent in this country.
Why?
Right.
First of all, there's no such thing as black on black crime. It's crime, period. White people kill white people, black people kill black people, Latino kill Latino people. It's just people killing people. Why are we putting these terms on it? There's no such thing as black on black crime. Then turn around and say black on black crime, why are we not focused on that? Like, you're deflecting and taking away from what we are talking about. That is a person who is a community enforcer supposed to protect the community, is taking people away from this community by murdering them. This is what we are talking about.
Right.
continues.
I mean, yeah, I think we touched on that earlier, Miss
Yeah, we
DMV.
discussed that.
Like, yeah,
Earlier.
it's apparent. Like, obviously, people are going to insert themselves
Yeah.
into this and use it as a mask or a way to, do what they want to do, while other people, are doing things. They're doing something on the right. They're doing something wrong on the left. Like, there's nothing we can really do about that,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
right. And it's unfortunate. It is going to happen. But on the flip
Mhm.
side of that, there were video clips from Minnesota where this started, where the next day the community was out there strong, sweeping up glass, mopping up water, picking up whatever was thrown out there. But that was not put in the mainstream media at all.
Who's George?
Oh yes, we know.
Oh,
We know.
There were also mysteriously there were bricks that were conveniently located to where these people could grab them and throw them.
Exactly. There's like, where did these busts of people, like, these people were not here, and all of a sudden a bus shows up and they get out like SWAT and dressed in all black, faces covered, and they got bricks. Like, you do not think that is that we're being test subject. There's this going on in the background while all of this rioting and protesting is going on. There is an agenda here. It's called, and those people are insurgents. They're basically people that are coming in and using the situation at hand to gain control for a political or governmental reason. We know that's going on. Well, some of us know what's going on. I've seen it, and I have discussions with Kick about it all the time.
Yeah, I've seen it last night when people were looting Soho. There was people dressed up in all black, and they were hitting all the businesses down there, just throwing bricks, and then kids were going in, doing what they got to do, and then they hop on to the next. Like, you can even see it on, if you have a Twitter, I'm telling you, Instagram doesn't tell you the full picture. You go on Twitter, Twitter has everything on there. Twitter tells you everything. Because Twitter is faster than Instagram. Instagram takes forever to upload stuff and you got to relay information. At least with Twitter, you can upload tweets within a couple of seconds and you can relay that information.
Yep, you're right. You're right, Kid. They do. They do. They have their agenda and they do need us divided. And we have to be more mindful and more intelligent in trying to see through the smoke and mirrors. And this is why it's our duty to find that information and share it so we can open the eyes of the masses.
There was actually a video I saw earlier this morning of them interviewing someone who had looted the Louis Vuitton store. And so they asked her, they were like, well, what is your reasoning for looting the store? Or she grabbed a whole bunch of bags. And she said, if I can get this bag for free and sell it to feed my kids, then I'm going to grab as many as my arms can handle. And I'm going to take care of my family. That's just one point of view of somebody who was involved directly in actually physically taking stuff. Well, that's like what I said earlier, is not everybody is out here looting and rioting and doing whatever they're doing out there for justice. They all have their own agenda. And I think Mo said that them looting is taking away from the message.
And this is why we got to keep sharing the message, because there is going to be unfortunately opportunists that are going to be out there to take things or steal things because they have their own agenda. But people are hungry. People are starving. Like, unemployment is about to run out in July, and the government gave us a $1,200, and people got to choose between feeding their family or paying their rent. Meanwhile, big business got billions of dollars from it, and the people that keep these buildings afloat got $1,200 to last them 2-3 months.
And then the same people who are condemning the looters, you're also posting incriminating posts that shows they actually looted these spots. Like the people who looted, like, I don't know, let me say like Round 2 or Flight Club in California. And I see some of the resellers I follow posting like offer up posts, or even like on eBay. Yeah, like on eBay showing what they're selling online. Like that's not you. You were part of the problem too, because like Hilla said, the woman who said, if I gotta sell this bag to feed my family, I'm gonna feed my family. But for y'all to post it online, knowing that there are people who actually monitor our online activities, they can literally target those people and arrest them. Like you're contributing to the issue too. Like, and people don't think about that.
It will continue to be an example that people will use and try to make stereotypes stick. It will be the thing these folks are out using as excuses to justify they will kill.
Yeah, I think we also need to pay attention that it's not just black people, it's not just white people, it's a whole bunch of people out there. Like a lot of them are trying to hide it by putting hoodies on and masks on, but we can see the color of your skin regardless. So I mean, that's something that we have to keep in mind as well.
We need to. Yes.
Yep.
I agree.
Chantel. That's always the first step, is to vote.
Right.
They also give millions to illegal immigrants, the ones who don't pay.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But the only way we can fix that or try to invoke change in that is once the dust settles and we're in the stage of repair, or the stage of trying to get things back to normal, then what? After the mad, we have to come up with the strategy to make the change. So yes, we do need to get some of our own people in those those positions of power, so that we have a voice. But so many people shy away from that stuff. They want to condition their children that are coming up to be rappers and basketball players. We need to encourage some of them to be lawyers, encourage some of them to be politicians, to help invoke change. Yes, some of them will go on and play basketball, and yes, some of them will be major football players, and they can also use their platforms to help educate the masses. But we still need those people that are pushing the papers and the pens to make the changes.
OTB says, do you think some of the celebrities need to use their platform openly on these issues?
Absolutely, I think so.
All of them need to.
Yeah,
but all of them need to.
I think a lot of the times it's the people who are behind the artist that tell them they shouldn't, because for one reason or another. I know this because Taylor Swift for a very long time didn't agree with a lot of the things that were happening in politics, and so she didn't say anything. And so when she finally opened up on her platform about it, she felt so much better about physically doing something to make a change. And so I feel like, and everybody behind her was telling her, no, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not going to be worth it. And, behind the scenes, she's over here, she's having like panic attacks, and she's not feeling like herself because she's being censored. So a lot of these celebrities kind of have to do what they feel is right, regardless of, the people speaking behind them, because the people speaking behind them honestly just want a paycheck at the end of the day.
Right. I feel like if you don't speak up, then it's like, if you don't speak up in situations, then I'm not going to care about you when you need someone to stand up for you. Like the whole ASAP Rocky thing. He said he couldn't relate to, black men being killed because he lives in, Beverly Hills or whatever. And then what happened? He went overseas and got locked up, and he wanted everybody to help him. And guess what? I don't care. I can't relate. I haven't been overseas, so enjoy jail. Like, that's how I feel about it. But you gotta, like, if you have the platform, you gotta speak up. I mean, if you saw Denzel Washington stepped in on a situation between police and a homeless man. I mean, Killer Mike did a whole 8-minute speech in Atlanta, which was amazing. If anybody saw it, where he's basically talking about, I know we're angry and, we burned things down, but now, what's the next step? And that's the main thing we have to focus on now. Like I don't know how long this rioting is gonna go on. I feel like it shouldn't be an ongoing thing. Like, you're mad, you do something reactive and it's done. You don't use a whole week of rioting in different cities to, like, act like this is for the cause. Now we have to get together and strategize and come up with a way that we can evoke change in our communities, like you said, with voting and getting people out, prosecutors out and senators out on the lower level. Everybody wants to focus on, we got to get Trump out, but there's a whole list of people below him that we have to get, placed right before we can get anything changed in our own communities.
Yeah, like my mom was telling, we was talking last night. Also, like, there needs to be a change within the police system and how they operate things. She was saying, like, maybe they need a psych evaluation every year or every 6 months because they suffer. I'm not on the police side. I'm on the neutral side of things, but they need some type of evaluation because they do go through PTSD. Like, a lot of people don't understand that, and they need implicit bias training. I took that training, and I work at a school, and the implicit bias training teaches us that even though we think we're not biased, there are certain things we are biased about.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
a lot of people need to take that training, especially police officers, because they already have their own personal biases.
Right,
because
they're human.
They're human.
Yeah,
Right.
So if you're a police
I feel
officer,
like,
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I feel like anybody dealing with the public needs to do things like that. Need to have mental health checks. Like, if you're in customer service, if you're a teacher, like anything where you're dealing with the public or you're dealing, in a potential situation, you could be getting screamed at or, this or that, and you can't be reactive. You need to have, mental health checks and, like you said, bias checks and all these things, because otherwise, you can have a break at any time, like nurses even. Like, that's why some, old folks are getting abused in the homes, because you're doing this job for so long and you get tired of it and you don't say anything because it's just a check to you and you're abusing someone's parents. Like, so, we just have to be more human, like, at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I just don't understand it.
Get rid of that, and definitely get rid of that knee on the neck position, because they're doing that way too much. Like,
They're
I don't even know why
second
that's a
nature to
thing.
them. It's like second nature to them. I would really want to know what, and I have a lot of people, like I have a couple of people who are in my family who are cops, and I do have a lot of people that I grew up with that are my childhood friends that are cops, and I really would like to know, like, is like what's in this manual that's telling y'all to throw your knee with your full body weight on somebody's neck? Like, that's like, why is that a part of the subduing training? And secondly, when it comes to the police officers, I do agree with what you guys are saying about psych evaluations, because I know, like, for a fact, and these are some of my childhood friends who are police officers, a lot of them are full-blown alcoholics, and a lot of them take like antidepressant medications, which has side effects. And yeah, you got these people running around with loaded pistols that are being put in these sticky, hairy situations. So what do you think is going to happen alongside of them being fueled with this anger because of whatever?
I think if we're going to use our full body weight in the knee, put it somewhere that's not the neck. I mean, is this, to me, it seems like something that should be common sense. When I was doing my research on this, I've seen different pictures of officers having their knees on necks, on faces. It's like, well, why can't you put your body weight on their legs or their back or something that's not so damaging to their health? But also, we know, if you've seen the video, we know we heard him say, I can't breathe. I would struggle to get out of a hold if I couldn't breathe either. You know what I mean?
And mind you, his hands is already behind his back. So already his body is in a stressful position that he can't even, because like I was talking with my mom yesterday, she brought up a good point. She said, if your body is in that type of position, you're already in stress mode, and your first instinct is to try to get loose. And then plus this person's weight is on your neck. So all that, plus he had underlying conditions and all that stuff. He probably had hypertension based on what the autopsy report said. That probably increased his heart rate. So
Right.
all those factors, they don't think about that. Like they don't know people walk around with these underlying conditions and you applying all this pressure on them, leading to their deaths or serious injury. And also, I don't know, I learned this too. My mom told me also, like with pregnant women, they're not even supposed to put, I don't know if y'all seen videos of them, like if they arrest a pregnant woman, they put their hands behind their back. They're supposed to put it in the front.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they sometimes they don't do that either. So there needs to be a change on how they restrain suspects or people in general.
I don't get why that's even a part of the apprehending a suspect manual or whatever you want to call it, because there's so much that's in the neck. You got the trachea, you got the carotid artery, you got all this stuff that you put in a 160, 175-pound person with a knee. Like, what do you think is gonna? That's just common sense. Like, why? I don't understand why. And then there were three of you on him. Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do they go through the things that they are entitled to use? Like, like in the army, they make them endure like, gases and stuff like that. Maybe they need to put them on the ground in training with a knee on their neck so they can see how it feels and know when to use and not use that type of situation, which I think is never. But it's ridiculous.
And then they
I,
didn't even sit him up. Like you wouldn't
Nope.
even think to sit him up to see if he's okay. No, you just had him on the ground for 8 minutes and thinking that you're just gonna subdue him until he stops. Well, he did stop. He died actually, but they
Yep.
don't think about it like that. And then
But they were beating him in the cop car before they
they
had
was
him on the
beating him.
ground.
Yeah,
So
they
he
was
was
beating him
already in
too.
distress. He was already in distress, and he was panicked. And then you on top of that, you had him on the ground and you were putting your full body weight on his neck. So what did you think was going to happen?
so I have a family member who was in the military, and they said that when they were given weapons, they such as like pepper spray or taser, you had to be tased to know how it feels, and you had to be pepper sprayed to know how it feels prior to you getting clearance to even have that weapon on you. So it's like what you said, they should go through training where somebody puts their knee on their neck so that they know how it feels. But I think just in general, like whatever rules you have within your police department, you should endure whatever it is that you'll have to do eventually to another individual. Otherwise, you don't really know how it feels. So you're sitting here with your knee on somebody's neck for 8 minutes. You think they're going to be able to breathe after 8 minutes? Especially when they're already in distress. It doesn't really make any sense to me.
They had their knee on him for 8 minutes, and then after he was already not here, gone, they had their knee on him for an additional 2.5 minutes. Like it made no sense at all. And like they're it happens so frequently that they're desensitized to it. They don't care. They have no respect for the human life. But like Kit mentioned in there that the police department is like big business now. Like they're being ran like big business. They're not being ran as a community type of organization. It's supposed to bring unity and help, keep order.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
They do go through a series of training and instruction to teach them how. Yeah,
Which I
yeah.
believe, but they don't. They
I
don't
don't know.
think
I
about
want
those
to know what their
things.
training is,
Okay, we were
because
also
their first
sprayed
go-to thing is
because they know that they're. What has history shown us that they can do what they want and they just get a slap on the wrist?
Right.
It's so why should they care? And this is why we need to make change. Like these people are murderers, whether they have a badge behind them or not. You're a murderer. You need to go to jail just like the next man would, just like Raheem would, just like Juan would, just like whoever would if they did this that you're doing. They
Mm-hmm.
need to go to jail. This needs to be a process where if you do this, you're gonna go to jail. There's no slap on the wrist. There's a jail sentence. There's a loss of pension. There's whatever else comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to like with the Amadou Diallo. I don't know if you guys know about that case where that happened. That's not too far from my house because I live. A lot of people don't know I live in the Bronx. I live in Soundview, so that happened not too far from where I live at. And when they were prosecuting the officers, they didn't want the jury to be in the Bronx. They actually moved up. They moved the case up to Albany so they can have a better outcome because they knew because they said, quote unquote, the people in the Bronx are upset about this case and they'll quickly give the guilty verdict to these officers because the way they feel about police in general.
Has anybody been to Albany? I've been to Albany, so I know Albany is literally the exact opposite of the Bronx. So they did that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because they wanted the different outcome, and it's like you should be judged by a jury of your peers. Like you police in here, and you want to do dirty stuff, then you need to be whatever consequences you get is whatever you get. After everything happened in the front, they are one of the few cities handling all of this right. Go figure. Right, crazy.
Yeah,
and the government failed Flint miserably. Like they did them dirty.
Yeah, it's like it goes all the way up to the court system. Even the court system is corrupt because they just try to find any way to make sure these officers are not held accountable, which is it's unfair. Like it's unjust. Like
he died on camera. Like the world watched it. What else is there? They're guilty. Hand them a guilty sentence. Put them behind bars. Take away their pensions. Like, no, you lost that right. You murdered somebody in cold blood.
And they know they give them the not guilty verdict. What's gonna happen? The same thing's gonna happen again. Everyone's gonna burn everything to the ground because of the verdict.
Because that's what they want. That's what they want.
Yeah.
And then the city gets slapped with a civil suit. And then who pays these civil suits? The city pays the civil suits. So essentially it's the taxpayers paying these civil suits. No, how about you take these civil suits out of them pension funds? And then maybe people will start speaking up.
That's facts.
Yeah, just like they should do that with I don't know if y'all saw that video with the NYPD officer who shoved that girl onto the street and she hit her head against the concrete.
I saw that.
And she said she had a seizure and she had a concussion and she was in a seizure. And she said she didn't even do anything. The man just shoved her. And I said, what if he killed her on the spot? Like, what if she died? How are they going to justify that? You know, fire him. Take away everything.
He was in fear of his life. What do you mean? That's how they justify everything. And I don't even get that like defense, like, oh, you know, the cops in fear of their life or whatever. Bro, every day you sign up to be in fear for your life, essentially. Like, I don't understand it. Like, you're going into a job knowing that it's dangerous every day, and you get trained to handle these situations, but you want to use that as a way to abuse your power. Like, it's like a fireman can't go to a fire and be like, oh, no, that's too dangerous. I'm going to go home. Like, you do your job. You sign up for this job. You do it, and you do it properly, and you do it fairly.
Yep.
Like, innocence of proven guilty only applies to non-minorities, period.
Yeah, like, I work in a
You're guilty until we can figure out a way to make you innocent, or you can figure out a way to make yourself innocent in our case.
Like, I work in a special needs high school, and I know that 9, maybe 8 times out of 10, I'm going to get hit in the face or wherever, I'm going to get attacked because the kid is having a bad day or whatever the case is. But I signed up for that. I'm already aware of what's going to happen. So with these police officers, when they say I feared for my life, I mean, hello, you think people when people sign up for the military, they don't know what they're signing up for? When they say they're sacrificing their lives for this country and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So what is the difference with you? What is the difference?
I think it's like I don't know. It's like the wrong people became police officers. Like, where did it all go wrong? Like, were you picked on in school? So you figure you join a police department, get a gun, and lash out. I don't like. Where did it go wrong? I'm not understanding.
That's facts. I know someone who became a cop to intentionally pick on people that bothered him. And
Yeah.
I saw him one day when he became a cop, and he told me, like, he used to be a manager of mine at a store we worked at, and we worked overnight. So, a bunch of the guys used to always rag on him, and he became a cop, and he was bragging to me how he pulled over like 5 out of like 7 of the guys already. Like, and I'm like, I mean, you're happy about that? Like, for no reason, you're just harassing these guys because they bullied you or whatever. Like, that's a good way to use your power.
Hmm.
Basically, I feel like they use the cops to do their dirty work, to keep their
Mhm.
hands clean of the bloodshed.
Yep.
But I'm about to hop out of here. I enjoyed this conversation. I love all of
Thank
you.
you.
If
Love you
nobody
too.
Thank you for coming by.
it's always a pleasure with y'all.
Of course.
So I'm gonna hop in the
Stay
chat.
safe.
You too.
Anybody else want to hop in since we don't have Skip back?
Right, he just skated on us.
Yeah,
No one
his
wanna hop in and
internet
share
was
their
acting
thoughts?
up. So I guess we can go over the list that I compiled while we wait to see if somebody wants to hop in. If anyone wants to hop in, just DM me.
Absolute Style said most of these cops are scared. What Absolute Style? What exactly do you think that they're scared of? I mean, you sign up for this job, so what are they scared of? This is what I want to know.
And I mean, I don't doubt that a lot of cops are scared because they know they're not speaking up, and they know people are angry with cops in general, and it may not be directed at them, but unfortunately they're going to take, a big chunk of the hit. But I mean, you don't think we as black people are scared right now? Like, I'm not outside looting, but I could very well get in my car to go to the store and find a cop that's angry that they've been dealing with what's going on in the area and decide to take it out on me. So we're all fearful. That's not an excuse. You're trained.
Yeah,
They're
at this
trained
point,
for fear.
I think people in general are just fearful. When I was looking up articles, a lot of the articles say that police are now being more aggressive. And it's like, well, more aggression means that people's lives are in danger. So, I feel like we're in this perpetual circle of when is it going to end?
Right. And that was my main worry, like with the rioting, everybody's so mad. Like, I'm mad about the rioting because, the people who are doing it the wrong way or doing it with the wrong intentions, they're putting everyone else's lives in danger. So anybody who's going to take the bus to go to work or, going to the store to get milk for their baby, you can die just because other people are out here acting crazy. Because now they're, you've poked an angry dog from behind a fence, and now that dog is gonna bite whoever he can get his hands on first.
Okay, Absolute Style said before that he wrote, "You can't teach bravery. They have the wrong people in these positions." I agree. But then that leads me to have the question of what is their vetting process? What type? Maybe that needs to be reevaluated because you're giving these people these jobs. So where are you falling short in that process and making sure that they are capable of handling this alongside with counseling and therapy to make sure that they're not going left when they're supposed to be going right.
So waking up this morning and looking at Instagram, there is a heavy focus on the looting going on with smaller sneaker stores and even mainstream sneaker stores. And it's weird that the narrative is now sneaker related. But at the same time, this is our community. This is what we love. And so I kind of get why it's, people are focusing just on the sneaker stores. But honestly, all types of stores are being targeted. I don't think there is a rhyme or reason, but it's crazy to me that a majority of these stores, looking at anywhere from 20 to 30 articles earlier this morning, it's mostly shoe stores, and I'm wondering why. I'm probably never going to get an answer, but I'm just going to go over the list of stores that we know of that have, been affected. So the Nike store on Michigan Avenue in Chicago, Supreme on Fairfax Ave in LA, Flight Club in LA, Soul Stage in LA, Round 2 on Melrose Ave in LA, Round 2 in Richmond, Virginia, Riff LA and Riff SF have experienced looting. RSVP Gallery in LA, Adidas in Manhattan, Villa in Rochester, New York, Shoe Gallery in Miami, Soul Classics, Pleasures, The Hundreds, multiple Foot Lockers, Champs, Kids Foot Lockers, Ubique, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
In Philly, DTLR in Philly, and Snipes in Philly. And that's honestly that's a short list because looting and rioting and protesting is going on around the world. It's happening in San Francisco that I know of. They vandalized the city center in Oakland. They smashed the windows of a Wells Fargo bank. And it seems to be like centralized areas like the city centers that are being focused on, at least in California and the Bay Area that I know of. But I'm just wondering why so many shoe stores. Is it because people know that they can resell what they're grabbing?
Because these shoe stores, particularly like the boutiques that have the shoes at the higher prices, help fuel that hyper capitalistic mentality. So they're grabbing these items because they know they're valuable and they can offload them and get money to do whatever they want with them. Whatever they want. And like the Flight Club issued the statement basically saying that they're not liable for the shoes that were consigned there. So I mean, their store is going to be repaired. It's unfortunate that it was looted. Their store is going to be repaired because I'm sure they have insurance on their store. But the people who lost their shoes that they put in that store for consignment, they basically told them like, well, and then people are mad that this happened. And I understand it's I'm not saying that it's right. I understand why it happened. At the same time, because I had somebody arguing with me on Instagram saying that Flight Club is a pillar in the community, this, that, and the third. They've done so much for people. And I was like, if they've done so much for people, they're telling these people that they weren't covering their shoes from day one. So their shoes could have gotten stolen 2 weeks prior to this even happening, and Flight Club was basically telling you, oh well, you wasn't going to get paid.
Which brings in the integrity of this business, because this business could literally say that every single shoe that was on consignment got taken during this looting incident. And then all of a sudden, these people who put their shoes on consignment later see those same shoes being sold on their website, in their store. Maybe they think they're slick and they're going to send it to another store to sell. Like, releasing a message like that just takes away so much of a business integrity. Like, I never wanted to shop with Flight Club in general because their prices are outrageous. But now it's just like, do I really want to, give them my business? Probably not.
Right.
I wasn't going to anyway.
Definitely
but
quick. They were quick to put that statement out, and I don't even understand that. Like, why aren't the shoes insured? Like, if you know at a time maybe you have $1 million worth of shoes on consignment or not, why are you not just insuring it for a certain amount? Because obviously you got shoes coming in and out, so you can never know the total value of the shoes you have in your store at one time. But if you can get like a blanket amount and just have like, go a little bit over, or even if it's a little bit under, if you're $10,000 under, covering some is better than covering nothing. Because I mean, most people who have collections, I don't know, like I know Jumpman Bostic has his collection insured. If you have renter's insurance, you can insure your collection. Like, you take these precautions, and you're just immediately jumping to, well, hey, we don't know what to tell you. Like, we're gonna rebuild our store. Like, who's gonna want to come shop with you? Who's gonna want to come do anything with you? And people taking a loss.
That part, because you just told
good luck
people,
rebuilding your store. Right.
You just told these people, well, yeah, we know this happened, but we're not gonna help cover these lost shoes that you put here. So You were what for the community exactly?
I just want to
Especially when a
address
lot of these
this
shoes
real
probably
quick
up.
that
Oh,
yes, we did address the George Floyd situation, but he's not the only one. And there are many lives being lost senselessly because of cops who, for whatever reason, we never really know the reason.
Right,
But
right.
it's not just about Floyd, it's about everybody
right.
who's lost their lives
Because
senselessly from
yeah, there's
cops.
plenty of people who have lost their lives before him. I guess this was just the last straw that triggered it all,
Yeah, but
But
also it might have been the last straw, but we're going through so much in the world
right now,
already. It's like, oh,
right,
let's just add one more thing,
right.
and then that tipped the whole pile over.
Right, because it's crazy to think about all the people, like all the lives lost because of COVID, all the people who didn't get to, bury their loved ones, who haven't seen their loved ones, who can't feed their loved ones, and there's still people being, killed out here by cops.
Hmm.
Like, why is this even a thing right now?
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, definitely. No, I definitely understand that, but we just want to make sure that our YouTube is discussing as
Right,
much as we could have
everything.
researched that
Right.
wasn't tainted by media.
Right. Right. And
Right,
and we're willing to let people come up here and share
and speak their
their
piece. Yeah.
perspective on things and speak their piece. But with all this being said, all this that's going on, we have not heard anything about COVID-19. Makes you question, makes you
It
wonder.
does.
There's an agenda here.
I don't think I've heard anything other than California going into phase three, starting on Monday. I don't think I've heard anything about cases, about the current state of COVID, where we're
Mm-hmm.
at, what we're doing about it.
Exactly.
There's nothing on the news.
Right. Just a few days ago, it was we need to keep practicing social distancing. We need to please wear your mask. Now it's you can peacefully protest. No mask, no
No
social distancing.
social distancing.
All that went out the window.
Right, because I feel like it was a week ago that we were watching videos of people in New York getting harassed for not social distancing or being outside in front of their house, and now it's a whole different thing. Huh?
Yeah, it's crazy how fast the narrative changes to work for one, thing versus another.
But the most important thing is, like Miss DMV so said, she said what hurts is that in 2 weeks from now we be discussing the next hot topic. And that's what we need to get away from. We need to stop
Hmm.
just being mad, being mad for however long they want us to be mad and then forgetting about it. We need to stay mad, but get our shit in order, get our ducks in a row, and then take action the proper way. We're going through the mad process, the chaos process, and now once this has died down and we're in the rebuilding process, we need to be doing our research, getting all our I's dotted and all our T's crossed, so then we can take our strategic approach. Oh wow.
Oh, that's crazy. Mm.
And the sad thing is, Deja, is he probably did it because one, he doesn't care, two, he's rich, and three, he just wanted material for his channel.
For his show, right? That part probably gonna be a video. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely gonna be a lot of people who are gonna eat off of the situation going on now and have shows about it. There's nothing we can do about it. Like we just wanted to talk about it because we actually care about the situation. We're not here telling people to hit the like button or, to subscribe or doing any of that. We're just here to talk and to
Yep.
give people an outlet to release steam so nobody has to be out here in the streets doing anything to jeopardize their lives, because everyone has a family that needs them.
And I think if we can get anything out of here, or out of this discussion that we're having, is the fact that, like, we can, as a community, I think the highest number we had was like 21 people in here. Right now we have 16. is we can come together and speak about the issue in a respectable manner, and not be like, hey, well, you're wrong for what you said and you're wrong for what you said, but just listening. You don't always have to agree with each other. The mature kids, definitely, we do not always agree with each other, but we are respectfully listening, and that's
Right.
what people forget. We are not listening to react. We're listening to understand the situation and to understand how somebody else might view what's going on in the situation.
Right. Because there's we each only have two eyes. We can only see and absorb so much. So sometimes you need a grouping of people to look at certain things, or look at everything, the picture as a whole. And Word's gonna see a piece that I may not see. Hella might
Mhm.
see a piece that Word may not see. But guess what? We're gonna come together and we're gonna lay this all this out in front of us, and we're gonna put the pieces together and make some sense of it all, or try and make some sense of it all.
Yeah, and if,
That's
if
mainly what the
some of
Mature
you
Kids is
guys
about.
some of you guys missed the beginning, but I said that when something like this happens, when something important in the world happens, we want to do our research. I mean, I do research on everything and anything because I like to know stuff. But I found it hard this morning to find an article that would give me facts. I need facts. I don't need something that is so heavily media based that I don't even know if it's true or not, because can we even trust them or trust that their opinions are coming from the right place? So I did extensively look into this, and I was very discouraged that half of the articles didn't even give me information that I could use. So it's a good thing that we had, Deja come in, and then, Dani's very prevalent on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So, we're getting sources from we're getting our sources everywhere, and we're trying to be as straightforward as possible and not just water it down and tell you guys, what we think you want to hear. We're just
Right.
going to tell you the truth that we found, or the truth that is
Right.
within us.
Right.
So
That's facts. That's facts, Q. We do have to do things. We can't just keep talking.
Yep.
Because I think
Yep.
that's where this stemmed from, and why I hit them up as to why we needed to change the show and kind of talk about this, because someone did make a statement about people posting their Gotham post and sneaker pictures and this, that, and the third, when there's things going on out here in the world. And I had a conversation with them, and I said, I don't think you can't say that because I post something about something I like, that I don't care about what's going on. Everyone deals with things in a different way, but we can't be silent. We do need to use our platform, if you have one, to speak up and say something at least. You can't just sit behind and be mad and not try to do something. It's
yeah,
counterproductive.
and as well as
Ashley,
having this discussion, it does just because we're having this discussion on the channel doesn't mean that we're not going to take action. We just felt like it was very necessary to talk
right.
about it now. It's happening now. And so
Right.
we can discuss, and then we can also take action.
I wanted to address what Ashley Mendez said about the schools. Um, that I don't necessarily that's not my take on it. I'm gonna say when it comes to the education part about this stuff, I feel like I'm not gonna rely on mainstream curriculum to teach this to my child, because these teachers are with our kids maybe 30-40 minutes at a time, and it's multiple kids, anywhere from a class size of 20 to 30, depending on the areas that you live in, and the densely populated urban areas, it's usually more. um, they just don't have the time to do that. So this is where we come into play. Us as parents, we have to educate ourselves to then educate our children, and so on and so forth. We can't put all this on the teacher. The teacher is going to teach the curriculum that the powers that be give them, to for them to get the funding. and that's all they're going to teach. This extra stuff outside has to come from us, the
Right.
parents, the grandparents, the aunties, the uncles, the community.
Yeah, I think if we
And we got yeah.
if we put it in the curriculum, it has to be said a certain way, because you can't sugarcoat something like this. You can't just, bring this to a child and water it down, because this is something that shouldn't be watered down. Like, I posted on my stories the other day is that, like, people avoid hard conversations, but hard conversations bring change, and we need to have them in a certain manner so that our kids or our children, they are our future. So we need to make sure that they clearly understand. And if you add it to a curriculum, I feel like they may just water it down, and then our children aren't really learning. They're just retaining something that happened in history. But what is it that we do with the child who learns about that history? What are we going to do further down the line?
All right. And you also have to lead by example. Like, shout out to Mr. Miller. I was looking at his page, and he has two young sons, and they're biracial, and his kids and his wife were out there, in the streets protesting peacefully with a bunch of people of all colors. And he's in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I thought that was dope for him to take his kids out there and see the people and talk to the people, and he was photographing it, and everything. Like, that's stuff we need to do with our kids, like, not just teach them but show them.
David Straffa said the education system needs to be revamped anyway. Life skills and social issues aren't taught or discussed. It would be nice, David, but again, the education system now is not going to push that. So those life skills, it's going to be up to us. They have their curriculum that comes from mainstream education system. Again, like I said, that says, hey, you have to teach this so we can give you funds. So they're bound by these guidelines, because if they don't follow the rules, they don't play by the rules, they're not going to get the money from the powers that be that control that. So life skills are going to have to come from us. Like, my son is 16, and his schooling, they didn't teach him how to write in cursive. I taught him how to write in cursive. When I was in school, my generation, we learned that. But this generation of these kids growing up, they don't teach them that. They don't even teach them how to read an analog clock. My son knows, because I taught him at the age of 4 how to read an analog clock. So this is where the parents have to do their job. So we have to prepare them to continue this fight, because it's not going to be fixed overnight. It may not be fixed in 20 years. It may not be fixed in 30 years. But if we plant a solid foundation, they can just build from there.
And Dani gives good perspective, because her son is he's a teenager, and so there's a lot of things going on in his world right now that she has to discuss with him, and she has to find a way to help him understand, but also help him
right
through adulthood, and know, not essentially right from wrong, but just know that everything you see in the media is not the truth.
Right.
And his generation there's so much social media, and there's so much TV, and I feel like kids are overstimulated with things that don't really matter when it comes to YouTube and social media, and even regular TV. That if you're discussing these things with your children, I think you bring them out of that, being stimulated by YouTube and social media. You bring them out of that, and you kind of bring them back to reality, in a sense.
Yep. You do.
Yeah. Ashley has 2 little girls that she's raising too, so.
Dani, for kid advice, I don't know about that.
There's no manual for this, so the more the merrier. I'm willing to get advice from whomever, and I'm willing to share advice. This just through life experience. Like I said, mine is 16. I can tell you what I went through and how not to go through it, or help you get through it.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a village. We need to get back to that.
Yep.
Right.
actually I was never taught cursive in any of my schools. I went to private school for a little while. I went to public school. Not one of them taught me how to do cursive. I honestly had to do it on my own when I was older, and I bought cursive books, the kind that you just kind of write in. And I still don't fully know cursive. I know how to sign my name, and I know just a little bit of cursive, but like even me being 31, and back in my school days, I wasn't taught that.
Wow.
That's crazy. I'm trying to figure out when they stopped.
I don't know. Well, I mean, Hella just said that they didn't teach her that.
Right.
So
And that's crazy.
they were teaching it in my days, and I got 10 years on Hella. So we know 10 years
I
in they were
learned it
still
like
doing
I
it.
think in fourth, fifth grade, and my grandmother also taught me how to write in cursive better. That's crazy. I guess they figure it's like becoming like a dead. I don't want to say a dead language, but like people are e-signing everything. Like everything's becoming more technological.
Yeah,
There's not really as
not
many
many
instances where you're
people
signing for
are.
things.
Yeah, they're not really being taught to write
Like,
properly or anything
Nope.
like that.
right.
Like my
Because you got
nieces,
spell check and
my nieces
Yep.
and my goddaughter, one is in 4th grade, one is in 3rd grade. They don't know how to write cursive.
Which is
right.
crazy, but
Yeah.
technology has hindered them to the
Hmm.
basic things that they should know, like because they're so linked, like they're so electronic and digitally connected that I guess they feel like the kids don't need it. But like I told my son, like if the system went down, you need to know how to sign your name on a check. If the system went down, you need to know how to add, multiply, subtract, and divide without a calculator. And that's something that I showed him.
Mm-hmm.
Forget what the teachers were showing him. I wanted to reinforce that. Yes, they do. They do. Hollywood is very rigged. They 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 condition us through the television. What was that? That was the television is the best way to control the masses because everyone is sitting in front of it. True,
Yeah,
David.
same. We're in
But
the same boat. I went to school primarily in Oakland, California, which isn't known for a great schooling system. It's not known now. It wasn't known back then, and like even our teachers struggled to have things in the classroom. When I was in middle school, and um, I do remember our American history books having that, and so I mean, I can't even think of what like education is now or how it's going to be after COVID.
Wow.
I didn't see that Q. I mean, not Q. I'm sorry, Chantel.
yeah,
I saw
he
it.
was trying to.
I missed it.
He was saying some crazy
I can
stuff.
scroll up
Like,
and look though. Yeah, yeah.
well, I don't know if it's deleted or not, but it was very
Oh,
non-productive.
in StreamYard, it won't delete it, but it will delete it on YouTube.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Oh, we ain't even gonna
Yeah.
touch on that cake.
I mean,
Lord,
I think I
we'll
could
be here for
I
hours.
could be with them not if they're taking some of these things out like cursive and stuff, but they need to be replacing it with something that is going to be useful for them. Like why are they not teaching them about stocks and entrepreneurship and stuff like that? Like if you're gonna take away some things, teach them stuff that they can use. Like my mom said when my mom was in high school, they taught you how to balance a checkbook and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, oh well, I didn't learn that in school. Like that might have been something more useful. So then, when you graduate high school and go into college and you have all the credit card companies throwing credit cards at you, you know how to, monitor your credit and not just go and get a bunch of stuff and get into debt.
Yeah, Q. I agree, Q. Well read, but my writing can be terrible sometimes. But is it a valid question to ask where is racism learned? Is it through media? Is it through parents?
I think it's home.
Annie,
Home,
how
and
do
then
you
it's
feel?
I think it's home, and then it's conditioned through mainstream media.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think we can kind of tell with the fact that we can't really get the facts from the media, at least mainstream media.
Facts.
Mm.
Kick said, "Why do we need to learn about Macbeth? Teach me how to buy a house, change a car
Right,
tire,
that part.
balance the checkbook." That part.
Right, that's facts. Yeah, but with the racism, I mean, sometimes I don't even think people know for like. I don't think they know they're even being racist because they've been so,
Excuse
like
me.
you said, we've been so conditioned with it by media. Just like when we moved here, we live in a predominantly white town, and when Khalil went to school and he had people asking like white kids asking if it was okay, can they get a pass to say the N word? Like, why would anyone even think that's something you should say or be okay? And I can't fault a child for doing something that dumb. It's coming from home or it's coming from the music they listen to, and like, oh well, I see, black people saying the word and they're laughing and joking about it, so maybe it's okay. So like these people aren't being taught at home, what's right and wrong and what you should and should not do in public. Like I definitely miss the days where people were racist in silence. Like people are just too outspoken now.
Yeah, times are changing.
Mm-hmm.
But if anybody wants to hop in, we've got about 10 more minutes, so we're going to end our live. But we decided last minute to change what we were going to discuss in this episode, so we didn't really have time to get people on board to hop in and
Lined up, yeah.
say what they wanted. So we had Deja on earlier. We had Skip on for a little bit, and then his internet decided.
His internet said wah 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 wah.
Yeah, his
Yo, that's
AOL code
facts,
ran
Q.
out.
Facts. Facts. Q. I told
That's
like
facts. It's definitely.
Q. I've seen that in my day. I didn't experience it because my mom didn't do that to us, and I thank her for that. But I did see that growing up, during my childhood.
Right.
My child is not going through that. He don't got nothing in his name but his own bank account, and that's it. He's
Man,
16 and he
I'm
has his
about to.
own bank account, his own debit card. So I am teaching him.
I'm about to get him this finger hut account in his name. we need. We need some things.
Word.
Like, what you mean? A 6-year-old can't have a finger hut account? They need that flat screen.
Mm-mm. We got to change. We got to change. We got to do better. And it's only
Yeah.
going to start within our own households and then just keep educating the masses. If you change one person's mind, that next person is going to take that same information and hopefully change the next person's mind. We got to go. We got to keep doing it. Not finger hut.
Fact show. That's the goal. You raise your kids up right so they can take care of you.
Like me, I take care
I'm
of my
trying to be.
parents and my brother.
I'm trying to be on a beach in Florida, sipping a
That's
mai
not
tai.
being taken care of. That's being spoiled.
Yeah, taking care of spoiled, about the same.
No.
I'm not asking for much. A beach and a mai tai, that's too much.
Yeah, that's too
Word,
much.
cut it. Cut it.
No. No one has ever bought anything from Finger Hut. I don't even know what Finger Hut is.
I know what it is, but I never bought anything.
Everybody gets those finger. Yeah, they still exist.
But-
you don't get those magazines.
Yo,
Finger
they
Hut
come in
says
my
those
mail.
magazines.
I'm like,
Yeah.
who's buying this stuff?
Like, you mean you don't want this TV for $4,000 at $12.99 a month for the rest of your life?
No.
I don't understand
For
what
the
the
rest
problem
of my
is.
life, oh no.
Finger Hut is like the original Rent-A-Center.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it that
Online.
way. They're the magazine of Rent-A-Centers. I feel
They
like
found your
anybody
name
who was born
mysteriously.
anybody who was born in the 80s or 90s definitely had a nameplate chain or nameplate earrings from Finger Hut. That's facts.
Oh nah. Nope.
Yo,
I
all my
definitely
cousins,
had the nameplate, but I didn't get it from Finger Hut.
Exactly.
look, y'all chirping. You think your parents bought it from the store. They got it from Finger Hut.
Okay, listen to Kate. That'll be a good interest rate. Right, Kate. Exactly that part.
You know what's crazy is a
Kick,
lot of this
Kick just
stuff
didn't
that
want to.
we're
He didn't do no work.
a lot of this stuff that we're talking about that we weren't taught, like now we have to Google it, and it's like we have to make our own understanding of it. And that's the crazy
Yep.
part. Like, shouldn't I, as an adult, know how like what interest rate is good? I mean, now I do because I've taken accounting courses, so I know these things. But it's like there's some simple things that probably should have been taught to me my junior year, maybe senior year of high school. Because when I got out of high school and I got a job, I didn't know nothing. And I think, like Q said, I would be farther along.
Yep.
Kick giving chat room proposals.
Yeah, and I think it
And
depends on,
Q is
the
being
state
sought after
you
this week, huh?
I think it depends on the state you go to school in too, like
Mhm.
what is offered because some states think things are more important than others.
It's definitely the funding or what the governmental office, the political offices in the district are doing with the funding, because where we used to live, um Khalil School didn't have books for all the students. So the teachers would make photocopies of the books and hand out the photocopies to the kids, so that they can do their homework. But there was also corrupt stuff going on in the district where $20,000 that was supposed to go to the school went for the purchase of thumb drives. No one saw thumb drives because us parents had to buy thumb drives for part of the school supplies. Where we are now, the school district is completely different. Like my son is being exposed to like soundboard engineering stuff in the school. They have math books. The kids have computers that they bring home to do their homework on. So they're taking their money and putting it into the school, but we aren't in the most urban neighborhood that we were in before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish I was going to the high school he went to. He had a class where he learned how to screen print. Like,
Right,
bro, you know how far along in my business I would be if I learned that in high school?
right.
The best we had was like print shop. Like, I don't want to learn how to bind books.
I had wood shop,
Like,
and what we did was we made little ducks out of wood, and then we gave them to our moms for Mother's Day. Like that's all I learned in there.
right.
I
But
did
that's
take
isn't it crazy with
cooking.
wood shop? With wood shop,
I,
why do they teach you how to like I don't know, something like reinforce a door? I don't know, something useful for the home. Like what is this wooden duck gonna
that's
teach
what
you? Like,
YouTube and Google are for now, unfortunately.
Right.
that's facts. I definitely learned
Yep.
everything at YouTube University.
But yes, so we're gonna get ready to close since nobody wanted to hop in and say anything else. But of course, if you guys want to have a conversation, our DMs are always open.
Yes.
You can also comment below. Every
Go
one of us has
down in the DM.
access to our YouTube
We're
and they can comment back. So if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, you can always hit
we're
us up.
we're all of us are very approachable, so you can pretty much come and talk to us about anything. Like
Mhm.
Hella is a great listener. She gives great dialogue with having a conversation with you. So Word is the same way. I am My DMs are open. You can talk to me about pretty much anything. So if it's something that you don't understand, slide into DMs. We can try to figure it out together, because
Yep.
everybody's not gonna understand everything, but we as a group we can figure it out.
Absolutely. I think the fact that we have this community and like, people don't always want to have these conversations, but if you felt comfortable approaching somebody, anybody about it, then maybe it might change how you feel about having the conversation. So like Danny said, like all of us are super approachable. Um it's not like we're going to be like, "Oh, so and so hit me up in the DM and guess what they said?"
Right.
But,
Right.
just being able to have that conversation, I think, is a good thing. But
Yep.
I want to thank you and the chat and everybody who gave us a thumbs up, everybody who participated in the chat, Danny and Word and Deja, and of course Skip. He was in here for all of 5 seconds. I want to thank you guys for having this discussion and not having anything major happen in the chat is definitely a plus for us,
Right.
aside from one person. But I am hella laced, and I thank you guys so much for watching tonight.
I'm
Go ahead.
Caramel Wonder, aka Dani.
AKA Hi Bay.
No, that too. Yeah.
Word Customs, your favorite customizer. Tomorrow is the day. Let me plug myself. Tomorrow's the day for the chunky dunky Sakai waffle. So stay tuned. I will post more on that on my Instagram page.
And we out.
We're out.